What's going on, great people in the world? You know what it is. It's your guy, Nicholas Wilcox here. Alongside me is the strong and almighty Bobby. Johnny. Man. Johnny, say what's up to great people.
What's up? What's up, man? We got week 15. Playoff season is in the air, and I smell it. I smell it. Whether you're on a bye or whether you're getting ready to fight for your perennial playoff life, we've been grinding all year long for this moment in time. So happy week 15.
For sure. We're right rocking and rolling. Because welcome to the Fantasy Football Show, the DFS props, bets, picks, and start and sit show. We're taking questions for season long as well because we're getting down to the nitty gritty. So if you guys got questions, we'll answer them in an appropriate time. We're gonna go game by game breakdown of what it is that we're looking at when it comes to all things considered for betting purposes, fantasy football, whatever. We got you guys covered today. If you guys looked on Twitter already, feel free to follow us as well on the X, the Twitter platforms below hashtags. We are in the zone, and I already gave out a pick earlier on today, which we'll be discussing later on today. So if you guys didn't see that already, please catch it so you guys can get a decent odds line. I saw like whatever the line I posted, I'll say it later on, but it was a plus 110 play on a play that should be easy money. Now it's on DraftKings, so if you guys are doing the betting, let us know so that way we can do so. Our guy Supersize is already here, so you know what? Because he was first in the building, before we get to the game-by-game breakdowns, we're going to answer this question because we appreciate your loyalty. We appreciate you coming in when it just started. We definitely appreciate that, Supersize. So Brian Thomas or Nick Westbrook-Akinyi for full-point PPR. He's 11-3 in the playoffs, so he's sweating. How are you 11-3 and not having a bye week? Probably because, 1,500 on the line, he says. So we're going to break down who he wants, Brian Thomas or, Westbrook-Akinyi. Johnny, what do you say to this question?
Man, yeah. This is, I don't want to say it's a tough one to start off.
It's a conundrum.
It is. Obviously, that's why he's here, right? But like just some of the data that we got, man, and some of the data I got anyway, would say Brian Thomas, but I think that would be like if you had Trevor Lawrence playing. I know it's been a little bit up and down, but like what I'm looking at is over the last 3 weeks or so, and the Jets are one of the places that I'm looking at or would be looking at specifically like in a GPP format or just overall adjusted completion percentage over the last 3 weeks, 79 and some change. So that looks like a pretty good place to play as well, along with them giving up about 270 yards passing. So you would have to think, right, if the Jags are going to be throwing the ball or when they throw the ball, you would have to think it would be going to Brian Thomas. Cincinnati's actually been relatively decent in a lot of the aspects other than just yards given up, which they're actually second over that time frame. So for me, I look at the adjusted completion percentage is really the biggest thing for me because that kind of takes out like batted passes, uncatchable balls and things like that. So for me, I would say Brian Thomas would be the play for me if I had to look at this right here. Man, and good luck to you, brother. Woo. 15 hundo. Merry Christmas.
He said, Merry Christmas. Look, I think it's Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas has performed in whatever matchups he's only had when it comes to dud performances. He's only had a couple of them, and that was because he didn't get the volume. He's gotten back-to-back targets of at least 10 or more. He's clearly the wide receiver one of this team and has been showing it almost all year long. So why stop now? I think when it comes to this matchup against Sauce Gardner, like I think it's still a matchup where we're a little bit hesitant on. But again, Ladarius Sneed last week also got burnt by Brian Thomas. So I just think you have to go with the better player in this matchup. I like Nick Westbrook-Akinyi. He's probably going to score a touchdown today. Because everybody named Mama is on the anytime touchdown bet today. But I don't want to go as much variance here in this situation. If it wasn't Brian Thomas, I would probably say if it wasn't Brian Thomas, I'd probably go somebody else. He's asking. He says I usually run Bucky Irving over Thomas, but can't trust him this week. I understand
I'm with you on that one.
Chargers defense. I understand that. We don't know how healthy Irving is, but it's definitely one of those situations where it sucks. But I would say Brian Thomas because he's been the one that's more consistent. He's going to get the target. He's going to get the volume. We're pretty much hoping and praying Nick Westbrook-Akina gets the touchdown today. But other than that, it's like, it's kind of hard to pray at this point in time when it comes to your matchups now. Obviously, you should still do so. But I'm just saying in general, Brian Thomas, everything seems to scope out that Brian Thomas should be the better play, and they'll still go to him regardless of the matchup. So let's get into it. Suicide, we appreciate your overall advice. If you got any more, please do so before the show ends because we got you covered. Oh no.
Yep.
Oh no.
Yep.
I did it. I gotta do it over.
Yeah, you did it.
I've seen it. That's okay. That's all right. We appreciate you.
Yeah, bro.
You know what I'm saying? Commanders. Commanders at Saints. Just sort of a lopsided game, right?
Man.
I know, right?
Man.
I know. Definitely one of those days today already, huh?
Man.
Anyhow, Commanders at Saints. Commanders need this win to continue their NFC wild card chase that they're currently on because they're outside of the division currently in the standings of the Eagles right now. The Eagles have a 3-game lead on them, so it's almost like must win for the division if they still want hopes of that. And then a win here against the Saints, it's going to pretty much keep them firmly in the wild card chase. Because again, they lose this matchup, and all of a sudden the Rams have even more of a shot to get back into the wild card race. But yeah, taking on the Saints, who so many injuries for the Saints. No Derek Carr today. Taysom Hill done for the year. Olave, we have no idea if he's coming back or not. Rashid Shaheed done for the year. Like so many injuries already to this offense already for the Saints, and then the 7.5 right now for the Commanders are a road favorite. So, Johnny, what do you say to this overall? When it comes to these two teams, the matchup, Commanders going to cover. What you got?
Yeah, this one just would scream Commanders on it, like in every aspect of this game here. For me, man, I'm really looking at the rushing attack, man. The Saints have been a little bit sus in the run game here over the last handful of weeks, giving up 134 yards rushing. So that's one of the things I'm looking at. I'm looking at Brian Robinson. Maybe this is a good game to kind of bang him around here in this game. And then they've also been giving us some stuff as far as explosive runs as well. It's just really just a matter of how the Commanders want to take this game and how they want to approach it. Do they want to give it to Brian Robinson in this run game and let them kind of dictate this, or do they want Jaden Daniels to go ahead and get up early and take the lead and then do that, man? So I like the Commanders. I like the 7.5. To your point, man, like they have something to play for. And this is one of those like transitioning to the DFS side of things. This is one of those weird spots where you got Alvin Kamara on DraftKings at just under 10%. So this isn't the everybody play Alvin Kamara game.
Yeah.
So this will probably be one of the games where he'll actually pay off his price tag because there's really nobody else outside of Jawan Johnson, which we talked about last week. So I'm liking Brian Robinson. I'm obviously liking Terry McLaurin in this, and obviously goes without saying Jaden Daniels as well. So I like the Commanders and the 7.5. I'm not quite sure how we get to 43 in this game due to, was it Jake Haener playing quarterback for the Saints today? So give me the Commanders, and I will take the underneath on this one.
The underneath, he said. Yeah, I mean, look, it is a classic spot where I'm just not too sure about if the Commanders are going to like come out and really put the hammer down. So that's where I'm headed to take the over on this one. I will say that the Commanders getting 7.5 in a spot like this, everything points to that because especially Jake Haener played against the last time he played a full game, played against the Chargers, and he only threw for like 130 yards. So it's not like we're, unless things have changed for him overall, like from an improvement standpoint, we're seeing a guy that may not be as helpful for this offense. And again, we're already down with so many different threats. We're down to Juwan Johnson starting, a tight end that people were very iffy on coming into the year. Like, that's pretty much your best receiver threat outside, MVS at this point, but it takes a deep ball. And, Hayner's more of that, short intermediate type of, pop gun quarterback where he's going to check a lot of things down. So, in a very desperate spot, Cedric Wilson Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah, very desperate spot.
Commanders have given up some deep balls, man. They're on the list of teams that have been giving up the deep ball over the last handful.
So there's ways where the Saints can hang around, but I don't expect them.
No.
I think the Commanders are going to cover this one. Let's try this again. Chiefs, Browns. Chiefs, the almost undefeated team now, right? Because they lost against Bills a couple weeks ago. So no longer the undefeated team, but the back-to-back Super Bowl reigning, defending Super Bowl champions, the Chiefs, going on the road, getting 4.5. Taking on the Browns, who are 3-10. Jameis Winston at quarterback, the over under 41.5. We're expected the weather to be all types of crazy going into Cleveland, which was a surprise because Cleveland, similar to us New England folk. Weather-wise, sounds like it's going to be potentially one of those games again. I'm just going to double check to see if the weather
just getting some rain. It's supposed to be just getting rain at 2:00 right in the middle of it. But it's the wind that really is going to be it's the wind. Yeah. Like, it's got 20-mile-an-hour gust all throughout this game. So that's really the biggest concern,
I don't
man.
like that feeling. I don't like that because I have to start Patrick Mahomes in another league. But I'm potentially it's going to be him or Herbert for me in one of the leagues. I have to start that quarterback, and I'm kind of swaying go Herbert way. Yeah. Just because the Chiefs don't put their foot down on people. So it's just is what it is. But yeah, I mean, according to Kevin Roth,
the weather god.
Yeah, the weather guide of DFS purposes. He has it as a yellow orange, which is not as bad, but it's still all right. We're still, he says we're gonna get steady rain pregame, steady rain during, and around the end of game time. So it's going to be a moderate rating for the most part. So it's something to be concerned about in some ways. But based on how we saw the Rams and the Niners on Thursday night when there was a little bit of rain, I'm saying? It's kind of going back to that. It's smells like we're going to have a lot of run game here. At least on the Chiefs side, we should expect that a little bit more. Jameis Winston, we know he's going to throw the ball. We know he's going to chuck it around. So he's going to keep the Browns within this, but I don't like to take the Chiefs too many times on the road, but in order for them to pretty much lock up one seed, they're going to have to win. They're going to have to win in a decent fashion. So give me the Chiefs and the points. The over or under, probably just going to take the under here because this could get into a game where it gets nasty. The game could get slowed down. I expect the Chiefs to kind of slow this game down a little bit based on pace. So I don't expect this to go onto the over either. There's ways it still can because it's still only 41.5, but Chiefs games always tend to be slow paced. They always tend to just be really more methodical with the football. So that's what I got. Johnny, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's very similar, man. However, for me, from a DFS side of things, man, the Browns is actually a defense I don't mind getting to today. They're one of the least expensive defenses in DFS this week, DraftKings and FanDuel. And to your point, man, I think this game is going to be a lot more methodical. And I think this is a game, man, call me crazy. I don't know if I'm turning into Mr. Nick over here, a.k.a. Saint Nick, but I kind of like the Browns to hang around and keep this game close, man, just because I think they've been playing up to competition here as of recent. And I think, one of the things that's been a little bit shaky here over the last few weeks has been the Chiefs and their offensive line, and you got Myles Garrett coming to town, and maybe this is just one of those takes that's just a really bad take. But the other thing that is interesting about this game is that the Browns have been, again, one of the teams that you have been able to throw the ball deep on. But I think that's just based off of game flow and game script, the way things have been. So obviously they played in bad games and they've been able to move the ball in bad games. So I'm okay with taking the Browns and the points there, maybe even teasing this one up to 7.5 or so, because I think the Browns defense will be able to keep them around and the run game as well. So this is one of the more interesting games on the slate for me, just because the Browns can slow it down. They can run the football. They got a pretty good defense. Kansas City offense hasn't been great. They have something to be able to match D-Hop on the other side and Denzel Ward. Make sure he's playing today. But man, I like the way this one might pan out. We got no Cedric Tillman today. Njoku possibly not playing. Looks like he's questionable. So I think there's still some pieces to kind of iron out here as far as like the injury report. But yeah, give me the under in this game for sure. And then from an ownership side of things, Jerry Jeudy popping at 15% on DraftKings. That's really the biggest call out I would make as far as DFS goes.
Well, Elijah Moore.
I'm staying away from him on the DFS side of things. And the main reason why I'm staying away from him is because all the things we talked about, weather, slow pace game, chasing points. This just seems like, to me, it's a really good spot to kind of step away from. And if I was looking at anybody, right, I'd be looking at Nick Chubb, man. But I'm not playing a lot of him in GPP today. But I think again, if you're the Browns, man, they've been hanging around games all year long. And what do you want to do if you're playing against the Chiefs? You want to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. And if you want to keep him off the field, what do you got to do? We all know that story. We got to run the full ball. So if you really want it to be different, I think you've seen Jerome Ford get a lot of run last week. So if this game kind of goes the other way, you can maybe take a look at him, somebody that's not being played a whole lot. So that's just another place for me to be able to go as well. And then I would say, too, another quick call out. If Njoku doesn't play, the Chiefs haven't been very good against tight ends this year, so that might be a place to look as well. Or even if Njoku does play, that could be a place for you to get a little bit different as well as a tight end.
Yeah, that would be a very sneaky play to get to. In terms of if Njoku can't go, that's why I was interested in Elijah Moore, because if David Njoku is not playing, the target tree gets even more smaller.
Yeah.
And in a game where, we want to keep things, we want to keep Mahomes off the field, I still think targeting Elijah Moore makes sense when it comes to a short intermediate, somewhat susceptible against the run game, stuff like that. Because the Chiefs are really good against the run. So it's, the way you would get them is the short intermediate routes. It takes away the pressure from blitzes, especially with Steve Spagnuolo, to get the ball out quickly. But I understand what you're saying as well. But yeah, next game.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Wait. Have you heard of D's?
No, I haven't.
D's nuts.
I wasn't gonna say it. I wasn't gonna say it. But yes, we do have a question. From D's. Welcome to the channel, D's. He's asking pick 2 RBs and with 1 flex. So you got James Cook against the Lions, Monty against the Bills, Brees Hall against the Jags, Charbonnet versus the Packers, Sunday Night Football. McConkey, questionable, playing against the Bucks for 425. We got Waddle in the 1 p.m. slot against the Texans, and then we got Thielen, the 1 o'clock slate going against the Dallas Cowboys. Okay. These are a lot of it's in a perfect world, we could have all 3 of these running backs, right? In a perfect world. The good news is 2 running backs and a flex. So I will say I can't bench James Cook. Can we? Can we really bench James Cook in this format? Because again, it's last week was, I don't know, man. It was so weird to watch. With the Buffalo Bills going for Amari Cooper, Shakir Moore. You know what I'm saying? In a game where we didn't. Well, let's be honest. We haven't seen too much of a script where the Bills have been behind all year long. So we didn't have as much data on this when it comes to this situation. So now it's will James Cook get some more dunk down passes in this matchup? The Lions are a really good run defense. They are currently based on rank, they are a top 5 bottom matchup for running backs. So it's kind of do we still? I just don't know if I could bench him now because he's been really
listen,
good all year long in a game where he's like going back and forth. So let's just be honest. I'm still starting Brees. The matchups there. The only question would probably be touches. We're starting Charbonnet. And then and then everything else gets a little bit more trickle down because it's Brees and Sharp for me. And then the flex, man, like, I mean, I said it on Tuesday. I'm going to stand on business here. Adam Thielen against the Cowboys today. I feel pretty confident in that play because in terms of Adam Thielen, he's been like, Bryce Young, him kind of coming out of not out the woodwork, but in a way, like he's played a lot better football, and Adam Thielen has been the guy. Since Adam Thielen has been the absolute starter, back-to-back games at least 10 or more targets, back-to-back games at least 8 catches or more, and close to the game against Tampa Bay, he had 99 yards and a touchdown. And last week against the Eagles, he had 9 catches, 102. Look, gets a better matchup on paper against Dallas this week. They should be throwing the football. I think in a full point PPR, formats, give me Adam Thielen in the flex. Stand on business.
Okay. All right. Well, these nuts, I'm glad we're here to help you out today.
Here we go. I know what that means.
Yo, you know exactly what that means. We're getting ready to
disagreeing on something.
Yeah, we're getting ready to disagree. I like Monty today, man. The Bills have been giving up rushing yards, man. Like I've said all year long, I think the Bills are really good against bad teams defensively, and I think the Lions do not fall into that. As you can see, I'm dressed in blue today, so that should tell you everything you need to know. So I like Monty as far as that goes. I mean, not for that reason, but like just happened to be what I had hanging up in the closet today. So give me Monty because I do like the rushing game today for the Lions going against the Bills. And then like surprisingly, Jalen Waddle and the Dolphins, man, because the Texans have not been very good when you look at pass defense.
Texans are giving up the most passing touchdowns on the year.
Right. And like all of a sudden, like you have like this, this track team showing up today. So like I like Jalen Waddle today. I'm playing him in my big DFS lineup that I'm playing in a single entry. And I'm playing Jahmyr Gibbs in my single entry as well. So Jahmyr Gibbs, Monty, either one, right? Like I'm cool with that right there. Charbonnet, obviously, it's kind of hard to go away from him from what he did last week. Yeah. It's really hard to go. So
because he can get there more than one way.
You know absolutely, man. Absolutely. Like I thought he was more of a receiving guy, but like he's showing that like, he can get it done on the ground. So these are all really good problems to have, man. Like these are not bad plays at all. Thielen, I like Thielen, and I've said it, been saying it all week long, man. I like this Dallas and Carolina game. I got some really unique ways to get different in that game. And Brees, man, like, it's just a matter of like, if he gets 25 touches, then like this should be a slam dunk, but it's either going to be Brees or it's either going to be those guys on the outside today against Jacksonville who plays a lot of man coverage. So maybe you see Brees in the passing game a little bit more, but Monty and Waddle for me. And then like, if you wanted to go Thielen or Charbonnet, I wouldn't be mad at you, followed by Brees.
I just think you got to take your shots when you can. I just think in terms of running backs, you're not wrong about Monty. When it comes to that run game, because they gonna run. They end up rolling them. It's because of Monty. He'll be part of the big reason why.
Yeah,
Sonic and Knuckles. You know what I'm saying? Like Gibbs and Monty. Like those guys are gonna come out and do it. So who are your selections again?
Monty, Waddle, and then I would say, man, give me Charbonnet, man, followed by Thielen and Brees.
All right, fair enough. Appreciate the question, D's. We're going to move on here to the next game. Bengals, Titans. Not too much to talk about here, honestly. Bengals getting 5.5 on the road going to Tennessee. Tennessee is 3-10 on the year. The over-under right now is 46.5, so pretty high over-under, honestly, if you ask me. I thought there was going to be a few more points, like, watered down. I mean, the Bengals, man, when it comes to covering, they just haven't been a good team to back for the cover all year. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna give it out. I'm gonna take the Bengals overall for money line purposes because, excuse me, they still have weapons where they still want to deploy. We still got Higgins and Chase playing for money. I'm saying in terms of this point of the year, so guys are just playing pretty much playing for pride. The Titans in this spot, like they've when you getting plus points to them, they just find a way to disappoint. So I'm just not gonna take. I'm not gonna take them in this spot. And I'm just not sure the over is gonna hit in this one because I think the Titans are still want to run the ball, and I still don't know exactly what they want to do, even in a spot where they should still be somewhat competitive. Because again, they lost to the Jags last week, so not touching this one in a way. I did talk about Tony Pollard on my X post, so feel free to check that out. And we'll talk about some other things for the props later in the show. But Johnny, what do you got to say about this game?
Yeah, man. I don't trust the Titans as far as I could throw them. They're a bunch of egg sucking dogs, JV All Americans is what they are.
The JV All Americans.
Yeah. You can trademark that. That's what my coach used to say anytime the old JV, the old scruffy offense or defense knew the play and would jump the play. Be like, yo, stop being a JV All American. So you can trademark that one, man. That could be our egg sucking dogs / JV All American segment. But yeah, I just don't trust him, man. Although I think there's a lot. I don't trust him on the surface, right? But like, there's a lot of things tied into this. Obviously, Titans head coach, obviously former offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. So I think there's some familiarity there on both sides here. And then like just showing up and laying a freaking goose egg to the Jags for the Titans, man. There's that. And the Bengals, man, like still trying to keep whatever slim playoff hopes alive. They have to win this game, like obviously. So like Jamar Chase is probably going to get peppered with targets. That's not going to be anything that's going to come to a shock to anybody.
No,
I would say like I'm actually okay with the over in this game, and the only reason why I say I'm okay with the over in this game is just because the Bengals suck on defense. Like it's just that simple. Like they suck on defense. Yeah, and like I mean. They suck on defense. Like we could keep going. And I could tell you 5 different ways from Sunday about how they suck on defense. But for me, like again, man, like just another team, man, that's giving up a lot of yards through the air for sure. So like maybe this is another like Will Levis sneaky spot for him to get back into and possibly have a solid game. And then like I like Tony Pollard in this place. I know you had just talked about him, and I didn't even catch what you had put up just in relation to Tony Pollard.
sure.
But this is just one of those spots where you could say, all right, like I could see a world where Tony Pollard has a really big day. So I'll definitely back you on that one right there. And then like when we look at it from like an ownership side of things, obviously 3 of the more popular plays today, Chase Brown coming in at almost 30% on DraftKings, becoming very chalky again. Like, wow. T Higgins at 18%. Cal Ridley at 16, followed by Chase. So, like, a lot of people are actually not playing Tony Pollard on DraftKings, which I think is really, really interesting. So maybe that's a good place for you to get to if you want to get different in your lineups on DraftKings. Coming in at about 5% owned. Overall, I'm just going to trust the Titans straight up on the money. The Bengals on the money line, straight up, and it wouldn't shock me for them to be able to beat the brakes off the Titans by more than 5.5. So I guess I'll go ahead and take the Bengals, even though they suck on defense.
Yeah, I mean they did outplay Dallas in general. It was just again them kind of not really putting out there and putting their stamp on the game. It was a back and forth seesaw battle in that fourth quarter to that turnover late by the Cowgirls. So I mean, yeah, it's just is what it is. More competitive game now.
Yeah.
Miami.
Yeah, I like this one.
You doing the Birdman thing over here?
Yeah, baby. Stop playing with me. Put some respect on my name.
Dolphins getting 2.5. Getting 2.5 going on the road to take on Houston in the Dome over under 46.5. Look, Miami has looked a lot better the last couple of weeks, especially with Tua just coming back and being pretty phenomenal. when it comes to just throwing the football. Did you know that Tua is a quarterback that since week 10 has 12 touchdown passes and is only behind Joe Burrow in that category since week 10?
Did you know that Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are in my DFS lineup today because because the Texans ain't been good and Tua's been playing good. So I am riding with your closet Dolphin fandom. I'm riding with you today.
Hey man, it's just research, but
hey, no, I feel you.
It is what it is, man. Like,
yeah,
it's just I'm really mad that the Dolphins are not getting like 3.5 versus 2.5, but I'm just kind of griping with it. I have no idea what the Texans are gonna do though, because look, like we've seen this team before, like in terms of these spots, and they sometimes they rise to the occasion at home more often than not. But also it's like they find a way to also, just stink up the games. Sunday Night Football matchup several weeks back ago when Jared Goff threw like 5 interceptions. It's like this team couldn't close the door on them. So, look, Miami's playing for their playoff lives at this point, right? Lose and they're out. Texans, they lose, it's not really that big of a thing. They pretty much have the division locked. Unless the Colts win later on today, I think they pretty much clinch, right? I think the Texans win, I think they pretty much clinched the division today.
That would make sense based off of the shittery of the AFC South. So
right, yeah, pretty much because it's because Colts 6-7, and if they lose to the Broncos today, which also need to keep on winning as well, they're out of the division race, which pretty much would make with we'll have 16. We'll have 3 games left, so technically they're not out of it. But they get one step closer to clinching division. The Texans would today.
Yeah, because you got all those division games like the last week of the NFL season that kind of filter out any kind of tiebreakers and stuff like that.
Exactly. So, I mean, look, in this spot, I'm probably just going to take the Texans. I think that this team, for whatever, I think they have to get, they're off the bye week. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for Miami now. So it's looking like, this team could be in a spot where they can deliver. And I just think if we're going to take the Texans seriously anymore, it's just one of those spots where they got to beat the Dolphins. Miami, I mean, I know the pass defense has been terrible for the Texans. They've allowed a league most 26 passing touchdowns through the air this year. But I do think that the Texans still find a way to get there with pressure, D'Amico Ryans, play scheme, stuff like that. I would think they have the line of scrimmage advantage for the offensive line and defensive lines because there's no Austin Johnson for the right tackle for the Dolphins. They've been struggling to run the football without him. Look, like I'm just going to take the Texans in hopes that they can not only bounce back from the Jacksonville game from a couple weeks before the bye week, but also because they'll be more strategic in their offensive play game, mixing in the backfield, Nico getting the ball down deep, and CJ Stroud getting, on his high horse a little bit more, especially at home. What you got to say, Johnny?
Man, this pains me because my first-round pick of next year, Nico Collins, who I'm just going to draft in every slot that I possibly can, no matter where I'm drafting at next year.
He's a no matter what player already.
No matter what. Just going to get all the Nico Collins I could possibly fathom next year. Don't even care. I like the Dolphins, bro. Like, I like the Dolphins. I think the Texans.
Talk about me in the fandom.
I'm not a fan of the Dolphins, yo. Like, I mean, like, I shouldn't say hate. I really don't like Jalen Waddle. He's an Alabama guy, and he don't play for my team, so I could give a shit about him. I didn't believe in Devon Achane until probably about week 5, so there's that. 2 was an Alabama guy, so I got no reason to like him. Reek, like, he's a terrible human being, but a hell of a football player. So, like, I like Mike, man. I like Mike because, like, if from a fashion side of things, like if I was a head coach, that's exactly how I'd rock it, bro. I'd rock it just like that. And like I've been on record for saying, like, I'm a big fan of D'Amico Ryans, man. I'm a big fan of like what the Houston Texans team is all about. But it just seems like, dude, they're so off balance, man. And like the Dolphins have quietly been playing better football like each week to the point that you mentioned about all the stats about Tua Tagovailoa and what he's been over the last handful of weeks. If there's ever a get right spot for Tyreek Hill, this would have to be one of those spots. I'm not saying Tyreek is washed, but I think like you're seeing it, man. He's not. It doesn't look like he's pulling away from defensive players the way that he has over the last 2 to 4 years. I think there was an end around play they ran with him last week. I was watching and I was like, that ain't Reek the Freak. That looks like, a fast football player, but it doesn't look like Reek the Freak. Jalen Waddle has finally kind of started to come on over the last handful of weeks. Obviously, we know about Jonnu Smith and him kind of emerging as pretty much, man, the leading receiver for this team. When I say receiver, I'm not talking about Devon Achane. I'm just talking about like literally like receivers / tight ends. So like, yeah, man, for me, man, I like the Dolphins to be able to keep this close, man. It's in a controlled environment. The Texans have, you mentioned like, what happened with them with Detroit, but go back to earlier in the year where they tried to find a way to give the Buffalo Bills the game, and the Buffalo Bills were like, no, you take it. No, you take it. No, you take it, which goes back to what I said about the Bills. Like, they're good against bad teams, but against, like, top bar competition, not so much. So all that said, man, for me, like, I like the Dolphins in this spot. When we talk about from a DFS side of things, Joe Mixon is a very popular play at 17%, which he probably would be my favorite Texan to play, if other than Nico Collins, which obviously it's just me being a fanboy. But Joe Mixon is definitely a really good play today. Like when we look at, when we just look at like what the Dolphins have been over the last handful of weeks. But yeah, man, like I like the Dolphins to be able to keep this one close, man.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that too. I just, man, some reason, I feel like Tua's going to turn the ball over late in the game and they'll lose it.
Well, here's a fun fact. It hasn't been that's been turning it over. It's been C.J. Stroud that's been turning it over late in game.
I know, and that's the funny part.
Yeah, that's
just the funny part. Going to the next game.
Oh boy,
we're talking about the
Oh boy. All right. Let me go ahead and get into character here. All right.
Jets taking the points, and we'll move on. Cowboys.
Oh man.
I guess I'll take the Jets here. But at the same time, like I don't want them to win. So that's why I want that higher draft pick.
You turned it into one of those fans, huh?
I want a higher draft pick. You're right. Shoot.
No. Oh no.
No, I know, but no,
man.
I mean, look, people got to play for their jobs at this point. So, look, like did we talk about this last week with Aaron Rodgers in terms of he's got to keep playing well anyway because to show he's still got something left.
Yeah, we talked about some potential landing spots, and the only place we kind of cooked up was New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Minnesota if they don't do anything with Darnold, but it's a long shot too.
Man. My man can fix anybody. He can fix.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's on KOC per se. I'm just saying in terms of landing spot or whatever. It's like trying to cook up somewhere. It's definitely rough. But quickly because I don't want to talk about this game too much. Really, it's not because the Jets. It's really just it's not.
Yeah,
really
no, I got you.
Conducive to anything important.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? Like so.
I got you.
I guess I'll take the Jets here in a battle of the Scrub Bowl.
The Scrub Bowl.
You know what I'm saying? But I just think with the Jets here, Breece Hall is playing today. I'm not too sure what to expect for a workload perspective, but I will say he's a good enough start today against a Jaguars team that, again, they're better. They're better against the run, but Breece Hall is all purpose back. And if he was a full go on Friday, which he was, I expect him to be a full go, still getting his normal work share in terms of backfield touches and whatnot. Aaron Rodgers looked a little bit better. First time for over 300 passing yards or more since 2021, which was really interesting to watch now, right? But in terms of that, we talk about a team, the Jaguars, who their secondary is dead last in the NFL when it comes to opponent dropback for EPA and the opponent yards per pass attempt. So they give up 7.8 yards per throw. So I definitely like the Jets here to, I just did think they had the better weapons here, and that's pretty much it. So anything much to say about this game?
I do like Aaron Rodgers today. I actually had started building lineups this morning.
Stop reading my mind.
Literally the first time we spoke all day. Literally, literally. This is what is comical. But no, I do like Aaron Rodgers today, man. Just because the Jags play a lot of man coverage, and I think that's the one thing that Aaron Rodgers definitely destroys is man coverage. So, like, I really like Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson today for sure. I've actually have them like in a couple of individual props on my own. So I do like that. Brees Hall, man, makes me nervous. I got him. We've talked about it before, man.
Makes you nervous.
Well, he's in my home league, man, and like I have him and Bucky Irving are my two running backs. So it's like dangerous territory in week 1. And so I'm waiting. Like if they're not gonna play him, man, like I'm gonna hate your guy. I don't even know what his name is. We'll just call him Jimmy. The head coach, Jimmy, because he's not going to be one after this. Like, if he suits up Brees Hall and gives him 5 carries in week 1 of the playoff, like, I'm not going to say what I want to say. What's the first thing on my mind, which is a Sopranos quote from Tony Soprano about what happens to somebody's mother. But if that's what happens, come on, man. Like, what are we doing? And then, like, on the other side of things, man, I think, like, a player that's really going underneath the radar.
What'd you call him again?
Jimmy.
It's Jeff. But
close enough.
You're very close.
Yeah,
very close.
Close enough. Yeah, close enough. The other player, like, I think, like, we need to talk about, or I just need to highlight because I don't want to spend any more time to your point. Tank Bigsby. We got to talk about him, man, because I think he's somebody, like, from a DFS perspective that we look at and we're like, okay, like, who is somebody that we could slide in at a decent price? Tank Bigsby is somebody that we could definitely slide in at a decent price. And, you know, the Jags, they haven't been great, but they are kind of along the same lines as the Carolina Panthers. They're coming off of a win. I don't want to say that they're playing better, but they're more competitive, I guess would be the best way for me to kind of describe that. And obviously you got Mac Popcorn Arm Jones out there today. No Evan Ingram, right? So you got Brenton Strange.
Yeah, so wow, what a year for him, huh?
Yeah. Oh my God, dude. I know. Which is funny because actually I dropped him on Tuesday just trying to play some kind of shenanigans in my league. And then it shows up that he's done for the year. So now everybody's like, man, you got the inside. I'm like, no, I really don't. I was just trying to hope somebody would drop somebody and I could pick them up. But but yeah, man, I would say I like the over in this game. I think this is one of the games that I think could get over just because the Jets just haven't been who we thought they would be. And on top of that, they're one of the worst teams in the league over the last handful of weeks around adjusted completion percentage, which, again, I think you guys can tell is a stat that I'm really, really into because I think it highlights what quarterbacks are able to do and what receivers are able to do filtered out. So I like that, man. So give me that. And then also, too, just they've been giving it up in the air. So this game might have sneaky potential shootout is what I would say, man.
It would take the Mac Jones side, to really get there. But, again, you just said it. No Evan Ingram now. You know what I'm saying? Just, I don't know. I mean, the Jets defense has not been anything special the last 6 weeks, but I just expect them to play just a little bit better today. So we'll see what happens. But Cowgirls.
Cowboys. Here we go.
Cowboys. Panthers.
Another one.
There's gonna be some pieces we love in this game, huh?
Another
I feel that. I feel it coming.
Another one.
Cowgirls, Cowboys. 5-8 on the year going into Carolina. Cowboys getting 2.5 on the road, which is a little interesting. Gets the Panthers who are 3-10. I know an over-run right now is 42.5. I know the Panthers have been playing a lot better in terms of just playing games tight and close. I think the books are just respecting that lately. But I think I could say the same thing about the Cowboys. They've been playing some tough, close games as well. I just think I'm going to take Dallas here. It's only because I think same situation, like what they probably were in last week when it comes to just like, they're going to play, they played Cincinnati pretty tight, I'll be honest. So a team that, again, offensively has been one of the better units of the year. They really played them tight to the end. If it wasn't for the turnover late, they would have potentially won that game. Cooper Rush been playing a lot better. And again, the last couple games, like Cowboys. They've gotten better. I mean, healthier on defense.
Yeah.
And in terms of, again, like Cooper Rush been playing pretty decent football. Which is like, nobody thought that, after that debacle, where he pretty much was not looking great at all. The first time he got out there, he was overall just, excuse me, got to itch the ear. Oh, I know, right? Excuse me, folks, I have to itch the ear. But against the Eagles, where he again looked absolutely like trash. Everybody thought he was not gonna be starting. Everyone was calling for Trey Lance, but since that game, like he scored a touchdown pass in every single game since he's been the starter, like the official starter, rock star starter. So they've been playing as a team a bit better overall and sneakily. So I'm gonna take the Cowboys here. Give me the points and give me the money line.
Okay.
I think the Panthers defense, we know it's not been that great. They've allowed 4 of the last 5 running backs to have gained at least 100 yards or more.
Who's this? Wait, who's this?
Carolina.
Oh, okay. Give me some
more. So give me Dallas. Yeah, so I got.
Man, I hate that I am like the king of petty and keeping receipts all over the place. I hate myself sometimes for this.
You don't need to.
I don't. I don't.
It's probably situation.
It's probably bad for my mental, but like I just always like to like be like, yo, man. Like,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know exactly where I'm gonna go. You know exactly where. But I told you this on Thursday.
No. I know this, but it was a question regarding a start and sit question.
And
it wasn't talking about the game.
And I stood on it, and I'm still standing on it. Like
that's fine. I didn't say Rico Dowdle was a bad player.
No, I know you didn't. I'm just saying he was like I'm just saying I love it.
It's just him or AJ Brown.
I love this. I love it.
It's just him or AJ Brown. It's kind of hard to kind of.
I tell you when you're right. I told you were right about Devon Achane. I told you were right, and I got on. All right, so it's cool. So like. Sure.
It's still tough to AJ Brown or Rico Dowdle.
It's still a tough play. It's still a tough play.
But that's very tough.
But like I said,
so that's why I said
you had a top
keep that type
back,
of receipt.
If you had a top 9 back,
that's not like going against. That's just.
No. I just like to hear it. I just be like
insane a little bit, honestly.
Oh,
sorry, folks. We gotta pause Johnny real quick. He's going a little off the rail here. We gotta put him in timeout for just a moment. All right, he's back.
Oh man, no, this is I like this spot right here, man. For both sides, man. I think to your point, and to my point, Rico Dowdle is definitely a guy that is absolutely should be in play. Chuba Hubbard was our cover boy today. He's the highest owned or was the highest projected owned player on the slate for DraftKings. I'm trying something different in my lineup. I'm going with Bryce Young just because it gives me a chance to get different from the field and in a single entry format. Like if I'm going with Bryce Young versus Chuba Hubbard, that should give me some kind of an advantage. I will say the Cowboys have been playing really good because, again, I said that last week, talking about them in the Cincinnati Bengals, that like I did pick the Cowboys straight up to win because I thought they really had a shot. But Bryce Young has been playing really incredible football when you think about it, playing really good against the Eagles, playing really good against the Chiefs. So like I think we're on to something, and I think he's starting to figure it out. And really, if you want to get cheap to be able to get some of like the more expensive plays into your lineup this week, that's a great way to go on DraftKings for sure.
I got a question for X that is very interesting.
What's up?
So choose one running back: Breece Hall, James Cook, Pollard, or Rico.
For me, it's between Rico and Pollard, for sure. And the only reason why, like, I would say, like,
we're really not that confident Breece Hall today. I see.
I'm not, man. I'm not. He's been burning me, and I hope I'm just so far left on him that he comes to the right today and throws up a 30-point game and helps me advance into the semifinals of my playoffs. But like, I get so anxious about like a player that's injured that has nothing to play for. Like, what's the reason that he's out there for? Like, why is he out there? Like,
Sure.
we always kind of joke about the head coach saying like, yo, like this person is trying to like get a head coaching job. So maybe that's the only reason. But
we were in this spot last year and Breece Hall delivered. So that's where I was like, you take that mental note and you're like, well,
yeah, Robert Saleh was on the
he is out
sidelines.
there, he's gonna
not there.
go. He's not gonna, just cakewalk.
I know.
He's gonna be
like
out there
again,
to play. So
paranoia / anxiety, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's what I got, man. Like that's what I got, man. And like I know Rico Dowdle is going to be playing him, but like this is also too, man. This is also the time of year where like people's mindset starts to shift about players going into next year. And I think we're starting to kind of uncover that. And I think this game right here is kind of highlighting that with Breece Young, with Rico Dowdle. I think that's where we're at, man. But Tony Pollard's matchup is good today, man. But I think it's just like, and I won't like completely go off the rails on this, but like one of the things like I consistently see with Tony Pollard is like, man, you look at his stat line, man, like in the first quarter, and it's like 7 carries, 53 yards, 60 yards. You're like, shit, this is about to be the day. And the day ends, and it's 13 carries, 75 yards. Like,
so Rico and Pollard, basically.
Like, those are the two for me, man, for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
I think to answer that question, I have to go Breece Hall because look, like the proof's there where if he's full go, if he's ready to rock and roll, you just got to start him. Like, it is what it is. And then Rico Dowdle. Like, I love Pollard too in the matchup, but Rico is pretty high this week, honestly, when it comes to usage, when it comes to all things considered. Like, she'll get some scoring opportunities today. So I would say Rico and Hall. But I just wanted to get that question because it was on X. He was like, couldn't join the show. And I was like, all right, well, cool.
That's cool. Well, I'll say this. The last thing I'll say about that question, and Breece, again, to quote one of the great football coaches I had, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. So give me the Carolina Panthers to keep it close today. I don't know, man. I'm just feeling doggish today. I don't think it hits the over. Just because like I think the Cowboys defense is that good. And I'll continue to say that like they're a good defense, man. But I think Bryce Young has been playing well. And I think from a DFS side of things, like he can 2x or 3x his price tag I think he's like the least expensive starting quarterback that's still out there today. Not named like Mac Jones or, the guy from New Orleans. So give me that. Like I said, Chuba Hubbard now is almost up to 40% owned on DraftKings. So like that's Chuba Hubbard. So yeah, man. So give me that.
That's our guy.
He is our guy. And I put it out there, man. But like you do again, like once you get to like 30% in like DFS slates, like unless I'm like 100%. And like I said, the Cowboys defense, like against the run, like I feel okay about it, man. So that's what I got, man. And then what else? We got? Wait, there's one more other thing too. Well, obviously, other than Carolina just being like really aggressively bad against the run, Dallas has been aggressively bad against the pass as well in a couple of areas, yards, and again, adjusted completion percentage. That stat again, man. Fantasy points, man, coming through, man, to help give us some good data, man. And I like that's a metric, man, that I think like to really pay a lot of attention to. Is that one right there, man? So give me that. I'll take that one all day long, man.
Makes sense. Makes a ton of sense. Next game we got. We're not gonna spend too much time on this one, are we?
Nope.
Ravens go on the road, getting 16.5. Breaking news: Breece Hall officially active today.
God, Jesus.
Breece Hall. Ravens getting 16.5 going to MetLife to take on the Giants. Yeah, man. Giants 2-11, just as bad as the Jets, basically.
I'm doing
Giants
something
are definitely
right
down. Giants are definitely down bad today.
Down bad.
Definitely down bad. Ravens, man, 60.5 is just, I always these longer spreads suck, but probably just give me the Ravens and tease it up to like a 10 versus 16.5 because excuse me, I do think the Ravens like have everything it takes to grind out a football game with Derrick Henry. I think it's like rushing prop was like over like 115 or something for rushing prop, similar to like Barkley from a couple weeks ago, where his rushing yards total was through the roof last week against the Panthers. So, but in terms of this game, like
David Njoku inactive.
Oof. Uh-oh. Tommy DeVito starting instead of Drew Lock. Apparently he was in a walking boot after the game, or at least the next day. So that's why, they're taking precautions on his foot. But DeVito checked down King. And its matchup should try to take advantage of a Ravens team that's still susceptible in the secondary, but coming off the bye week, still looking like like it's just not a game where I would be avoiding that game as well. Like I just can't touch it. The only way I would see a path to the Giants being anything relevant in this game is Malik Neighbors, Tyrone Tracy for fantasy purposes and season-long purposes, because there's some teams out there hurting that running back. There's some teams hurting receiver. People that probably drafted Malik Neighbors are still wondering if they need to start him. I think you still need to start Malik Neighbors just because from a volume perspective, he's going to still catch a ton of passes. And that should get you there versus some other options. Like someone asked me, Malik, well, I asked you this question: Malik Neighbors or Zay Flowers today?
Zay Flowers. Listen, I'm not even
like a slam dunk though.
Listen, dude, I'm not even batting an eye about that. Like, there's a couple of angles. Like, I would just say this reminds me of Lean on Me with Joe Clark and Sam's at the top of the building. You smoke crack, don't you, Sam's? You smoke crack, don't you? Go ahead, jump. You might as well kill yourself. You're just doing it slowly. You're just doing it slower. Go ahead. I don't want to jump, Mr. Clark. I don't want to jump.
Oh my gosh,
the Ravens, man. Now. While we were just sitting here.
Well, the only reason why, my pushback on you on that is because look, like we're talking about a receiver that's still getting double-digit targets. Say Flowers, yes, it takes one play. Say it takes one play for him to get there, but the line 16.5, and how the Ravens are consistently how they do things. I'm not gonna say Zay Flowers can't get there because he'll have to get there earlier on in the game. They got to get out to a lead somehow, some way. But Bateman's definitely the deeper threat in some cases. It's just, again, like I'm not sure. I said Neighbors because I was like, look, the volume is there. I
ain't falling for none of them shenanigans today. I got Malik Neighbors in 2 leagues. In one of the leagues, my team is done, and the other one I got to buy. If I had to play him this week, I'd play him because his name is Malik Neighbors, like no doubt. But if it's Malik Neighbors and Zay Flowers, the Baltimore Ravens, one or two things is going to happen today, and I'm just going to put this all in the box right here. Lamar Jackson's either going to throw 5 touchdowns today, or Derrick Henry's going to run for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. There's no in between. There's no in between. There's no in between. We are overthinking this situation.
So which side in that situation? Which side are you on then?
I just placed a bet for Derrick Henry for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns for $5, right, just for shits and giggles, and I'll probably go back and put like a Lamar Jackson, just take the most aggressive touchdown prop I can find for him and call it good.
So probably two anytime touchdowns, probably most likely for Lamar.
If that's whatever the most aggressive number is I can find, I'm playing it.
I wouldn't necessarily say I wouldn't hate you for that. Like the 3 touchdowns is interesting, right? Just curious to see what odds are that for
I think $5 gets you 300 on DraftKings for a 200-yard day from Derrick Henry and a 3 touchdown day. Or 2. Well, yeah, 2. I think let me see here. I was just like, we were sitting here talking about it, and I'm just like, man,
3 touchdowns plus 750 on DraftKings for Derrick Henry, and then what does the first touchdown get you though? That'd be interesting.
Yeah,
first touchdown, like Derrick Henry. Just there's ways to get you know,
Yeah.
in the betting world, there's ways to get around
Uh-huh.
some of
Bro,
the
there
juice
ain't
and
even
stuff like
like,
that
dude,
too.
there
Like, you
ain't
know, first
nothing.
touchdown plus
Yeah.
300 for Derrick Henry. So I mean,
Bro, like this is just what it is. This is why you drafted Derrick Henry, and if you were able to make it through your bye last week and you're in the playoffs with Derrick Henry, this is why you
okay.
got him.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. He was I was asking like, why doesn't he have a bye this week? Like, because you already made 200 for getting the number 1 seed. So
That's fair.
kudos to that. Anything really more to say about this game? Honestly, like
Derrick Henry was almost a cover boy. There you go.
he should probably in a way probably should have, but at the same time, I understand why we did Chuba Hubbard because he is a staple of this show. Every time we've talked about him, going to the 4:00 games, they all start at 4:25 p.m. Eastern, and then some of them are going to have playoff implications. First game, we got the Patriots getting 6.5 on the road going into Arizona. Arizona 6-7 on the year. The over under 46.5. Cardinals need to win this game. They're on life support for the playoffs. After losing to Seattle again last week. Yeah, I'm gonna take the Cardinals in this spot because they are a team that I can't seem to figure out. But they're a team that they're playing as a rookie quarterback in Drake May. Rookie QBs this late in the season have struggled to go on the road into these type of environments. And yeah, look, I'm not liking the spot for Drake May and these Patriots. But Arizona in a game where they need to win at all costs. I do think Kyler Murray can take advantage of this Patriots defense today. Patriots, for as good as Christian Gonzalez has been this year, the Patriots as a whole, they have not been, the best. When it comes to man coverage, they allow one of the highest rate when it comes to second highest rate in man coverage all year long. Patriots are 31st in drop back EPA and 29th in drop back success rate. So they've been getting carved by QBs left and right. The Patriots also are 29th in pressure rate percentage. That's according to Pro Football Reference. So I do like Kyler Murray today. I was back and forth about what I was going to do from a prop perspective, and we'll get to that. But I will say that the Cardinals are going to take this one, and that's just me being too much in the sauce for Arizona. But what do you say, Johnny, to this? Am I losing it? Am I losing my marbles? Am I losing my touch? Or is today the day we figure out Arizona?
No, I think Arizona's a safe pick on the money line, like for sure. I just think that
Kenneth Walker out today officially. He was doubtful.
I kind of already knew that was coming, so I can live with that.
But
like Arizona, like for me, man, like they should win this game. But like just in spots where like we have thought like we'd be like, all right, like they're getting ready to separate themselves and we can talk about them like as a playoff team. Just hasn't happened all year. And then like when we're looking now, like man, like Arizona's actually been one of the better defenses to play as in regards to quarterbacks. So like you're talking about Drake May, and just kind of I've had a couple of different thoughts like around rookie quarterbacks and just rookies in general, right? Like sometimes they do hit that rookie wall, or sometimes now we have to start viewing them as not rookies now. It's like they are now like they have enough experience underneath their belt to go out and do something positive. So I like Drake May like individually. I don't like him in a stack setup. Hunter Henry's one of the more popular plays this week. So just really trying to find someone to play to stack with Drake May is really interesting. Now, here's a really unique take. If you really wanted to get creative, you could go Drake May and Ramondre Stevenson in some form of a small stack or pairing, however you want to, whatever your vocabulary
that'd be very
says.
Contrarian.
Right.
Today. Very contrarian today.
Right. And
very.
I like Drake May because the numbers say that like the Cardinals are a team that will and can give up some things in the passing game. But the problem is to the point that you made, right? Like just the Pats, they don't have enough weaponry to do that. So like, is this one of those games where the Pats keep it closer than like what the general public would assume? I think it potentially could be. But like again, like Ramondre right now is in my flex spot at 425. We'll see how things go after that Houston and Miami game, which, like I said, like I'm playing Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. So we'll see how that goes, man. But like, I know this is a long-winded answer, but I just don't, I don't think it's just as cut and dry as like we all think. It's like, oh, okay, give me the cards and like, let's get out.
Well, it's not, because the Cardinals have been inconsistent all year.
Right. And the Patriots,
finally the schedule's
Patriots
opening up for them. So
right. And the Pats have been, like, for however we want to view them, they have been hanging around games. Their 3-10 record doesn't reflect what they've actually put out there. And I am the furthest thing from a New England Patriot fan you will ever find standing on God's green earth. But like, I also recognize too, like, there's a couple of games that, like, if the pendulum swings the other way, we're talking about a 6-win team or possibly a 7-win team here going into week 15. From an ownership side of things, when we talk about this game, like I said, like Drake May, like if you're playing GPP, man, like I'm cool with taking a stab. It's something like that. James Conner and Trey McBride both on DraftKings are coming in around 18% overall owned. I think the public is now finally starting to give up on Marvin Harrison, which translation means you could probably play like a Michael Wilson or something like that if you're in a GPP. That's definitely, just a way for you to be able to get like a little bit different. But I do like Trey McBride today in this game for sure. So I think he's somebody that I would definitely bank on. Kyler Murray, 13%. So like there's a lot of ownership in this game, and Ramondre is like 5th. So there's a lot of ownership in this game. And I think people, the general public, are targeting this just because they see a 3-win Patriot team along with Kyler Murray and an offense in the Cardinals that could potentially get busy in the perfect setting. But all that said, man, like I said, I'll take the Cards.
I think the 6.5, it might be a little bit, I'm saying, like, that's a little lot, I'll be honest, for a cover. But I think the Cardinals should win this game to keep their playoff hopes alive in general. So I definitely what you're saying. No, it shouldn't be such a layup or such a slam dunk per se.
Yeah.
Bucks, Chargers. Bucks getting 3 on the road, going to LA. Bucks. Both of these teams, in terms of record, need to keep pace with their divisions. I just can't trust Kyler. I don't blame you. I really don't blame you.
Say it.
I don't blame you, but he's still a guy that, again, it's a lot to put on.
Man, listen, that's your guy, man. That's your guy. That's who you hung your hat on this year. Just like I hung my hat on Jordan Love. Like, that's your guy. Like, like
sure did. Yeah, same
us spots, doing this, man. We got to ride with our guys to the end, man. So exactly. I dig it.
So I'm going with Kyler today. And we'll, that's where we're at with it. But Bucks getting 3 on the road. They need this win in order to keep the NFC South division potentially themselves in it, because they overall need a win. Falcons play tomorrow night against Raiders. So in the matchups where both of these teams need to keep pace, because the Chargers need to as well. You got the Broncos breathing down their necks. They got a couple other teams still trying to get in general. So this is going to be a game where it's going to be a playoff atmosphere game today between the Bucks and the Chargers. Yeah. Can I understand why the Bucks getting 3? There's still no status on Mike Evans. Last time I checked, he was questionable to play. The game starts at 4:05, which is like, oh boy. Oh, sorry, 4:25, because every game starts at 4:25 today.
Yep.
Damn it. Great job, NFL. Great job. Yep. But yeah, so he was removed from the injury report. So Mike Evans is playing. So that's a good thing. But I will say this is a game that's, out of all the games this week, is definitely tougher for me to kind of which side am I going to take, because the Chargers on the other end of the spectrum, they're getting the Bucks, who have had so many injuries on the secondary right now. It's just one of those, the injuries have been hitting them hard. Like I said, they have their weapons on offense, but on defense, they aren't looking the best. The back end has been just getting injury after injury. Bucky Irving coming in, he's going to play, because we got reports about that playing. But as far as I know, there's no Winfield. There's no Tristan Wirfs for their left tackle. So the Bucks are just been getting beat up by injury. I'm going to double check this one more time.
Tristan Wirfs is he's probable today.
He's probable to play? Okay,
he's
good.
Probable, yeah.
He didn't practice like all week.
Nope, he's probable. Yeah, he practiced on Friday. But so he's probable today. No Antoine Winfield. Yeah, so no Antoine Winfield. So you're right on with that.
Cool. Thanks for the correction.
I got you.
I will say that Wolves is playing, that's a good thing. So I mean, look, man, this is definitely which it's like which way do you swing, they say, right? And then is Lad playing? Because he was questionable as well. So it's like we gotta double check these injury reports here.
He's questionable.
He's a true game time decision last time I saw.
Right.
So yeah. The plan, they say, Ian Rappaport says he's questionable and that they're gonna work him out pregame. They're saying he's optimistic to be a full go. So that's interesting too if he makes sure he comes back for this game. But man, these teams are similar. These teams are real similar, aren't they? What do you have to say about this, Johnny? Because I'll have to come back to this one.
I like
the over under on Bucky putting up at least.
Bro, listen. I'm in the same boat with you, brother. I got to play him and banged up Breece Hall and hope to God that Mr. Miyagi is somewhere giving him the.
Yeah.
I got hope.
My goodness, yo. Bucky Irving right now for the over under right now is 39.5.
Dude, he got me like I ended up winning in that league last week, so I can't even be mad. But I don't know, man. Like I'm gonna have to close my eyes and play him, is what it looks like, man. And I don't I hate having to do that. But however, man, like the Chargers have been that's been a good place for running backs for sure. So whether it's him or Rachaad White, for those people that are dealing with injuries, Rachaad White in the flex might not be a terrible play for people today.
No, I think both those guys can play. I think both guys deserve a flex spot for you.
Right. But obviously Rachaad White has no injury tag. So I think that's a little bit easier to kind of swallow, if you're putting him in a flex position. Yeah. But man, I like the Chargers in this game, man. I do. I think the Chargers are not.
So even if McConkey doesn't start, you still like them?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Just because I think they are the most unsexy playoff team that's there, right? You look around offensively, man, there's no sex appeal to their offense, man. There's zero. Defensively, they're a really good football team, man. They're a really good football team defensively. And I think to your point, statistically, all of the passing data shows that the Chargers can stand toe for toe with the Buccaneers. And this game falls into a category. If Bucky Irving is he's not completely healthy, but if he was, I would probably lean a little bit more towards the Bucs in this game. I'm hoping that he is, but just being a non-biased person here in this game, I like what the Chargers are bringing to the table just holistically with what it is that they have, man, because we've said it all year long, the Bucs have been susceptible to give up yards in the passing game. They've been a little bit better over the last handful of weeks. They didn't make my list this week, but also too, man, Justin Herbert, he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL without weapons. That just is what it is. And we also have from a DFS side of things, we have our chalky play of the week, Stone Cold Steve Smart, which obviously allows people to be able to get to a lot of other plays for sure in a dump that's been tight in. So I'm kind of digging. I'm kind of digging what we have as far as that goes, man. Right? Like you say, man, the Chargers have done a really good job against wide receivers and just the passing game as a whole. And I think a lot of people have just naturally gravitated to Baker Mayfield just because what he's been able to do all year long. So all of that, long story short, pay attention to the Tampa Bay running game, not the Tampa Bay passing game. And then offensively, who knows, man, if Kamani Vidal, who's another guy that I'm hoping gets more carries this week, maybe he might be the guy, man, for sure. So
makes sense. So to the question, if Lad doesn't play, we're not going to get that information officially to the 4:00 window. To the question, I feel confident Lad's going to play, but based on we've gotten burned by this stuff before.
Yeah.
So if for some reason that Lad doesn't play and we can't get Worthy or Waddle in time, like we don't know that information before the 1 o'clock games start. If we know it before and he's out, Waddle. If we find out around that time he's somewhat ruled out around the 4 o'clock window time, is Ray McLeod. What do you have to say to this question, Johnny?
You're saying to play Ray McLeod? Is that what you're saying?
If Lad's out around the 4 o'clock window, if we find out before the 1 o'clock window and Lad's out still, Waddle.
Yeah, like Waddle would be it. Yeah, I agree with that part of it. I don't necessarily agree with the Ray McLeod take. I think Romeo Doubs has got to be the play for me. Like if Lad
here we
if
go.
Lad McConkey is out and we know that he's out, like he's got to be, man. I think like Ray McLeod, like I like him, dude. Like he's obviously ex-Steeler, bro. Like and I rock with him, but I just think if McConkey's out and it's that window, like Romeo Doubs, and he's cleared concussion protocol. So like I would
Ray. It's like I at least know in Atlanta where the ball is going to go to. The ball's going to go to London, Bijan, London, and a mix of Darnell Mooney and Ray McLeod. With Green Bay, do we really know where the ball is going, even when Dobbs is in there?
He's been the guy. Like he's been the guy, man. Like
Dobbs has been the guy.
He's been the one consistent piece when he's been on the field as a wide receiver, not as a playmaker, but as a wide receiver.
Definitely,
he's been the guy, man.
He definitely hasn't.
Man, dude, there's no way you could have me take Ray McLeod straight up over Romeo Doubs. No way. Like, I can understand what you're saying, like, as far as, like, the game goes, man. But, like, you think about it, like, they're playing the Seahawks who are going to throw the ball. So if there's points being scored in this game, then and it goes back and forth, then, like, Romeo Doubs.
Just from a trends perspective, the Packers have been running the football more.
They have been running the shit out of it. They have been. They have been.
When it comes to that, like, we have these other options in Green Bay who, again, can't get the ball at any time. So I wouldn't say Dobbs has been the consistent guy. Like, I know it's not that because he missed a couple of games. It's just he's just always been more of that floor play, gets 3 catches, 4 catches, and that's about it. Like so here's the thing. The only time he's had the big game was against Houston, week 7, where he scored 8 catches, 94 yards. He hasn't really touched that all year long. And then the game before that against Arizona, when he had the 2-touchdown game. Other than that, it's like I can't rely on Dobbs in this spot. Like, give me Ray McLeod, because at least with Ray, he's in an offense that's going to keep throwing the football regardless. In a matchup against the Raiders where they got to win.
Yeah, but like, man, they could the Falcons could get there by land or by sea. Like they could get there, and so can Green Bay. Green Bay can get there by land
or by sea.
Yeah. Like they can get there by land or by sea, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like they can walk it, or they can get in the boat, bro. Like,
just give me the guy that's getting a little bit more peppered with the ball than the other one.
Good luck to you, OG.
So we're still on the Bucks and the Chargers. Yeah, I would take the Chargers as well. I mean, it's just the only reason why I'm a little hesitant is because, like, Baker Mayfield has been playing really awesome ball, regardless of who's playing a receiver. So you tell me now he gets Mike Evans in a spot with the Chargers where they're going to be, they've been playing better defensively because they play a lot of zone coverage. But in terms of the last 6 outings, like, Baker Mayfield has just been on point. So he overall has just been a guy that no matter what the circumstance, he's going to be a guy that, he's going to be out here performing. So I think in a back and forth matchup, the over gets there somehow, some way, because I think the Chargers, they want to run the ball early on, but eventually Herbert's going to have to take over in a matchup where they're going to have to win, just like the Bucks. So give me the over under. Give me the over. Give me the Chargers. Colts, Broncos. Boy. 3.5. The Colts are getting. The Broncos are 8-5. The Colts 6-7. They were on 43.5. What do you like about this game? Because Denver needs to win. The Colts need to win. The Colts desperately need to win. Yeah, it's a must-win playoff game for them today. Lose and they're out. And both these teams are coming off the bye. And we have two rookie-ish quarterbacks starting in this matchup.
Fair enough. Fair enough on that.
So, what do you have to say about this one?
This game screams Bo Nix. It screams Bo Nix. It screams Cortland Sutton. Is what it screams. The Colts have been meh on defense. Although the Broncos have been, that has been a place where like we were starting to kind of view them as one of the upper echelon defenses in the NFL. I still think they're a really good defense. And I know some people have kind of started to turn the page in a positive way. As far as Anthony Richardson goes, I think maybe he gets brought back down to reality. As we know, Mile High is one of like the toughest places to play in the league. I love Bo Nix today in this game. I'm just worried about possessions and like, you know, that aspect of the game. Like, is it going to be a fast tempo game, which it's not? I don't think so, because I think we know what the Colts want to do. Jonathan Taylor has been almost a forgotten man in relation to fantasy and kind of like how we viewed him. Here's a great little stat. Denver hasn't allowed an individual running back to run for more than 41 yards in 4 games. So either it's bang or bust. Like, I don't think there's going to be any in between there. There's no in between. Like, either Jonathan Taylor is going to break a slate, and like if you have him in your season-long leagues,
oh boy,
which you
Jonathan Taylor,
which you probably are not in the playoffs if you drafted him, but like if somehow like you were able to pull off a trade for him or something like that, I think there's that. And then my guy, a guy that like I have been standing on since back in August in the Expo, Cortland Sutton. This is again like another really great spot for him. So I feel really good about that. The interesting part of this game for me is going to be, again, what happens with the Denver backfield, right? And if Denver is able to get up early, like how is that going to be divvied? Lil McLaughlin has looked really, really explosive and really good when he's gotten his opportunities. Somebody I considered in my shit show of a team with injuries, considered potentially picking up to play. I didn't. I'm not. But I think like overall for me, like when I look at this game here, again, man, Indy's a team that's been getting pretty much roasted in I shouldn't say every, but in a lot of passing statistical categories. Indy has been a team that people and quarterbacks have been able to move the ball on. So I think this is a great matchup for Bo Nix. So give me the Broncos straight up on the money line. I'm going to take the under on this game, and the only reason why I'm taking the under is just because I feel like this defense is going to have an opportunity to show back up and play Anthony Richardson really well. And I think this is another step in, do we buy the Anthony Richardson hype or do we not? And this is a tough place to play. So I'll take the Broncos and I'll take the under here.
Definitely a tough place to play. Man, did I say to take the over in this matchup? Just because I just don't feel as solid with the Broncos run game. Like they do it in pieces, and it's kind of like we can't always predict if they're going to run the football enough to grind it out. I just think there's going to be an over perspective in this game. Richardson is somewhat of a sneakier spot for both season long and DFS plays today. So I like Richardson for the price. There's no Riley Moss today, so that's going to be an interesting slot matchup with Josh Downs coming back today. It just remains to be seen how good Richardson's going to be able to take advantage of that matchup. But 5,800 on DraftKings makes for a decent spot for him to get his ceiling in at least, and then take it from there. We know Patrick Surtain is going to lock down Pittman. I'm just not sure if he's going to travel with him. And do we see a sighting for AD Mitchell today in this matchup potentially? I know that's a little far fetched, but
I mean, to your point, there's no reason for Surtain to travel. There's no reason for him.
There really isn't. So it remains to be seen how I feel about this game. I'm gonna take the Broncos because I do think they are the better squad overall. Nick's been playing really hot football. They're coming off the bye week. That should only help things. But both teams are. But I think with Richardson, I think he's going to put on a decent show today. I just don't think it's going to be enough to keep these Colts in the playoff chase. So give me that in the over. One of them. Well, yeah, we'll go there. We'll go there. You ready?
Why not? I'm on one.
I know you're ready.
Oh, yeah, I'm on one.
It's Battle of Pennsylvania. It's the Battle of Pennsylvania, folks. The Pittsburgh Steelers. Going into Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Over under 42.5 should be one of those drag out slog fight, take your haymaker and punch someone in the mouth matchup. Steelers getting 5.5 going into Philly. Steelers 10-3 on the year. Eagles 11-2 on the year. Johnny, I'll let you take it away.
All right.
The floor is yours, they say.
All right.
All right, I changed my mind.
Joke's on you now. Like, this is, I think this game is going to it's going to tell really who they are. They're going to be without their best wide receiver, George Pickens.
Georgie Pickens again, huh?
George Pickens, one of my guys I've been standing on for forever. Trying to tell everybody that, like, he is who he is. And then Deshaun Elliott, probably, I would say his acquisition during the offseason, it definitely didn't garner the interest of the casual fan in regards to Patrick Queen or him or Russ, right, or Fields. But Deshaun, he had been one of our best players on defense, period, bottom line, end of discussion. And in a game like today where you need somebody, I'm about to get ready to use another phrase. When you need somebody to go knock somebody's dick in the dirt, Deshaun is that guy. Like, he's that guy. So, like, you don't have him today going against Saquon Barkley. And I know the stats say that the Steelers have been really good against the run, but I am just really, really worried about the Eagles and their run game going against the Steelers in terms of Philadelphia being able to run the ball. I know there's been a lot of talk and a lot of conversation just around A.J. Brown and his lack of getting the football and them not throwing the ball and et cetera, et cetera. He's going to get targets today. I don't think there's any way you can avoid that. I'm more worried about Devonta Smith, because that's the type of player that, like, we've actually struggled against in the past, or those type of smaller receivers that have been able to get open and create space. I think
slots. Devonta Smith isn't small.
Well, when I say small frame, he's not A.J. Brown.
Okay.
Bigger wide receivers, the Steelers have never
Slim
struggled.
Reaper mentality.
They've never struggled with, like, I shouldn't say never, but, like, big wide receivers hasn't been their problem. Like, it's been guys that are shifty and can move around, and Devonta Smith is that. I think you're going to see Minkah Fitzpatrick today have a really good game against A.J. Brown, because I think the narrative is there for Philadelphia to try to force feed him. And if they try to attack that narrative and get him the football in that manner, I think you're going to see Minkah Fitzpatrick, which a lot of Steeler fans and just a lot of fans in general have been like, he's not been playing to the caliber that, like, people are used to. Well, he finally doesn't have to make 100 damn tackles a year now, because we have some linebackers that can make plays. So I think there's that aspect of it. And then, maybe Jalen Hurts as a passer, like, probably going to get challenged today, man. Probably going to get challenged, and this offensive line is going to get challenged. So I think this is a really good opportunity. I think you're going to see, like, a lot more versatility from this offense and this defense today as far as the scheme goes and players like that right there. I will say, man, like, I'll take the Steelers in the points if you're picking up what I'm putting down. That's kind of my take, man. And if the Steelers somehow find a way to win this game today, then I think, man, like, them having an opportunity to win a Super Bowl is a very, 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 very realistic thing. And, like, from a DFS side, like, you're not going to get a lot of play here from, like, a lot of the other teams, a lot of the players here in this game. Saquon is coming in at, like, 10% owned on the DFS side of things. And then, like, when we look at, like, the run game, I think that's where the Steelers are going to, like, offensively, that's what it's going to have to be. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have to run the ball today with Najee and Jalen Warren. So I think Jalen Warren is a nice flex play. He's a nice play, like, if you're looking at GPP. Yeah, man, you see what it is.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a matchup of talked about this earlier on a TBQ show this past week. It's all me about the line of scrimmage in this one. Who's
Sure.
gonna get the leverage there? The Eagles have a slight advantage, but it's just gonna be a game. It's gonna be one of those free flowing situations where it's just gonna be play by play who's gonna win that the line of scrimmage overall. Yeah, Deshaun Elliott being out is one of your better safety, run stoppers. That's bad. Him being out. And it's something that definitely goes underrated, like you said. It's just more of like the 5.5 is just, I think it's disrespectful. It's definitely low-key disrespectful. Well, the Eagles have been really well, but it's not like the Steelers can't come back from a deficit. It's not like they've run the football like that all year long just to say they can't, come back with a Russell Wilson situation. So it's not like the Steelers can't come back from being down, saying, well, in one possession game late. So I think I like the 5.5. I still take the Eagles because I do think that they find a way to get the running game still going. But I do think it's an AJ Brown performance. They get him the ball early. It's just if you don't get AJ to here's how I see it. If you don't get AJ Brown the ball, not only early on in the game, you may lose this game. You know what I'm saying? If you're the Eagles, just because look like you can't continue to keep. I know you've been running the football, but this is similar in the same sentence that I'll probably talk about with the Packers. Is that both of these teams, they have really solid pass games overall. But coming into this year, it's like they've been running the football a ton more. But now it's like you got to change gears a little bit. Now you got to throw the football a little bit more. Now you have to get that passing game going because if you do not, you're going to find yourself later on in the situation in the year where you could be in a spot where because you didn't fine tune your passing game enough, you could find yourself getting bounced in the playoffs. So give me the Eagles, give me the +7.5, +5.5 for the Steelers. I tease that up to probably another 3 points to see what you got for odds. But I do think the Steelers are going to hang around this game enough. I just don't think they'll win the game just due to all the injuries that's happening. From a DFS side of things, look, I think depending on what Fire Moose ownership is today, that's a spot I'd like to go to with the Pickens injury because Wilson, like, do you really think Van Jefferson's gonna get the ball a ton in this matchup? I don't know, man. Calvin Austin, I know he's playing today, but man, that's not it's just again not too many spots where you could probably potentially get this through the passing game. I think if we're really like kind of going off the map, going off the reservation, they say.
Here we go.
Jalen Warren.
Yeah,
I do
absolutely.
think that when no Pickens again, so it's going to open some things up in the middle of the field in the outbound, towards the sideline. I do think that's possible. They can get there, even from a betting perspective. It's definitely possible. So, yeah, I got you. So there's that. But I do think the Eagles win, but the Steelers get the 5.5 covered. Bills Lions. Then we got a couple other games we'll get to quickly. Bills Lions, probably the matchup of the week, but it's probably the co-matchup of the week because we got the Steelers Eagles. So that's going to be a game. That's the 425 window.
No, it's
crispy today, yo.
Yeah,
like, that's where it's at today.
Yeah. And Sunday, like there's some good games later on in the day for sure.
That's true. I'm like, ooh, yeah. Like, all right, get everything done early.
Yep.
Get all your laundry done early.
Yep.
Clean the house done.
Yep.
Early. Get your stuff done so we can watch 4 o'clock.
That's right. Be the spouse of the year. That's right. Football's on. You see me out here grinding out here, like, yeah.
Oh man. Bills are getting 2.5 going into Detroit. Detroit, we all know has been a juggernaut all year long. The Bills in the spot is a little sneaky. But I'm gonna go with the Lions just due to until they've won in all these different ways as a team. Like you expect it when it's gonna run out. Yeah, who knows? But I do think that this game, over under 54.5, man, that's a scary line. That's a scary over under. I'll be honest, it's very scary. Man, that's a scary over under. I'm gonna take the under. I love how both offenses can come out and really put it up. I just do think somehow, some way, this thing gets a little bit more slowed down with the Lions, especially because the Bills' run defense is a bottom 7 matchup for running backs, and plus, what I mean, top 7 play for running backs on the year, especially in the last 4, where the Bills have just been ran upon. So it's a spot where I still expect the Lions to win it, but the Bills, with being Josh Allen, you're never out of it. 6 total touchdowns last week. Like, you're never out of it with Josh Allen. So that's where that's where I'm at with this game. I do think that from a DFS perspective, Bills receivers. Amari Cooper, who's gonna probably have no ownership, 5,300. That's way too cheap. Shakir, he's like I thought 6,100. Probably getting better matchups for the slot for sure. The Detroit cornerbacks have been shit all year long when it comes to receivers, both slot and outside. They currently are when it comes to these corners, when they get targeted, when they get targeted.
Tardy. You're right. They've been late. They've been late to get to the ball. You're right. They've been tardy. You're right.
They are QBs passing their way are 88 plus in passer rating, average 105 for receivers, and then they allow on average to receivers 186 receiving yards. So everything sets up for a game script where if Buffalo's behind, they could easily get right back in this thing. Again, like this is a matchup where probably everyone's going to look forward to watching. So that's where I got for this game. What do you got, Johnny?
Yeah, man, I'm with you with the Lions. I just think like that run game is just going to be too much for the Buffalo Bills, man. Like I've said it all year long. I just think like they're good against bad teams and they're okay against good teams, and this is a great team that they're playing. And then like not to mention, man, like we talked about Mile High a while ago. Like Detroit is also one of the toughest places in the league to play. And I think like them just continuing to kind of keep this momentum going to lock up home field advantage. So like that the Super Bowl has to go through Detroit, and the fact that they get to prove a point with a potential Super Bowl contender. I just think like this, Dan Campbell's going to have these guys absolutely up and like ready to run through a wall per use with them. So I agree with that, man. And I think like I do like to take on just Josh Allen and the receivers for the Bills because like, yeah, like the Lions will give it up in the passing game 110%. So I think like you can kind of pick your poison. Like we're back to kind of where we started with, very similar to Green Bay. You got Shakir, you got Cooper, you got Coleman, you got Kincaid, you got James Cook. So like you obviously have to pick the right player. I'm going to kind of pivot to the Detroit side because I think like Jahmyr Gibbs, this is a prime smash spot for me for Jahmyr Gibbs at home against this soft Bills defense. And then Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams has played his best football at home. And this is another, this is a place where I just think like everything is kind of lining up for the Lions to be able to come out here and prove a point. I agree with you on the under. And one of my biggest pet peeves with these type of games is you have two really good football teams and a high over. So I feel like this one is probably going to slide on the under. So yeah, I will say give me the Lions. I'll take the Lions, the points. Lions money line, obviously, and I'll take the under as well. And then when we look at it just from the perspective of DFS, not a lot of people are getting to this game just in relation to ownership. Amon-Ra is the highest owned player at almost 10%, followed by Jameson. And then, like you said, like nobody pretty much, man. Oh, I said that. Hold on. I actually had the wrong filter. There we go. Still the same thing. Still the same highest owned player. So, like, not a lot of people are getting to this game in a game that has a 54 over. So it might not be a bad place for you to kind of sprinkle in some pieces here and there.
Makes total sense. We move on to the Sunday Night Football matchup, and we have a good one. Again, another slot that has playoff implications. We've got the Packers 9-4 in a year, taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Packers getting they're a road favorite going into Seattle. Seattle 8-5, pretty much with a win would almost, based on what happens, would pretty much just secure a NFC West division title. crazy how like kind of Seattle's kind of just jumped and played a lot better, and how the teams that were in front of them have played so poorly.
Right. Right.
Part of that because they beat Arizona twice. So with the Sunday Night Football matchup here, yeah, I mean 46.5 over under. This game smells like again another one of those like matchups where it's gonna go under because it's like because even though no Kenneth Walker in this matchup is actually Charbonnet has proven to be still like bell cow material. And with Green Bay playing relatively slower pace than they have early on in the year, they do get up for matchups when it comes to these situations, but I expect the game to get this probably go to the under as well. It's just a spot where I like both of the offenses for sure, but it's still a spot where there's still a bunch of ways this can go wrong. With Seattle maybe not being as potent on offense, to Green Bay running the football a lot more. The only way we probably this thing gets over is because we get a little bit more of a shootout, which I'm sure Johnny wants.
Yes.
So Johnny, take it away.
Yeah, definitely want to shoot out in this game with all of my Jordan love out there roaming the streets, along with Christian. My hamstring is still okay, Watson. So yeah, like I definitely want this, and then a lot of my DK Metcalf stocks as well. But like this is another playoff game, man, and I think like we were kind of just mildly talking about this before we hopped on, and like this is a game where I think like I know you were thinking the under, but I think the over, because I think like Seattle is still going to try to throw the ball. They're still going to try to push the pace, because to what you were talking about earlier, like, hey, man, like Josh Jacobs has been on fire. So like, hey, man, if he's been on fire, what do we want to try to do? We want to try to like make this a passing game to get him off the field, to make the Packers a one-dimensional football team, right? Like that, that should be the plan. That should be the play. And then Zach Charbonnet, man, like I think if you're playing him in season long and you drafted him like or picked him up or whatever, you got to be feeling great, because like he's gonna do his thing. He's gonna do his thing. So like obviously we don't have like a lot of like there's no ownership.
Of all the handcuffs, of all the damn handcuffs,
bro. Listen. I know
all the handcuffs.
I know zero.
All the handcuffs. He was the
one. I think it might have been one random league, but like overall, man, like for me, man, give me the pack. Like I said, like his guy's been Kyler Murray, my guy's been Jordan Love, so I'm gonna ride with him, man, till the wheels fall off in this game here, and hopefully the Packers are able to keep this thing rolling, man.
Yeah. I'm sorry, you said Green Bay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say Green Bay as well. They overall just have more of a continuity as a team in general, and what we're gonna get, whether they're in front or behind. It's like Jacob's gonna look to run the clock out. If we have a script where Green Bay is gonna throw the ball, Jordan Love is very capable of getting them right back in the game. So yeah, give me Green Bay and give me the under. You say Green Bay and the over. Not too shocking there. Monday Night Football matchups that they don't have too much implication in a way. You got the Bears and the Vikings. Bears getting 6.5 on the road going into Minnesota, the Dome. Over and right now is 44. I'm gonna say I just don't see the Bears giving much of a fight now. The spot we called the spot for them last week, and it turned out to be a disaster. So I can't trust this team at all now. They might hang around a little bit because of the division game, but the Vikings should take care of business when it comes to this matchup. Sam Darnold should have a match. The Bears in the last 4 games have been giving it up for passing yards and to quarterbacks. So Darnold, coming off a 5 touchdown performance, should have his way with this team in general. So Vikings still need to win in order to keep the hopes for a division title around. But more importantly, their playoff lives, so they can continually stay up when it comes to the playoffs. Real quick question from Paul. He's asking Devontae Smith or Ramondre Stevenson. I'm gonna say Devontae Smith because the matchup when it comes to the Steelers on paper is still better, in a way than Ramondre Stevenson. The Cardinals have been shutting down the run game, in terms of the last four. So they got gashed, what I'm saying, against Seattle before. But I do think that Stevenson, for as much as I do like him, I'm going to take Devontae Smith because I do think there's, like John said before, there's ways the Steelers defense could get, beat by guys like Devontae Smith, especially in the slot. There's just a few more injuries in that secondary. So I do like Devontae Smith, especially for a 4-point PPR with a volume. If he gets there by volume, you won. You won between these two. Yeah. What you got, Johnny?
I have to be so unopinionated on this because Devontae Smith completely burned me in your league and also burned me in another league as well. Man, yeah, I'm probably going to slightly lean towards Devontae Smith. Although, man, like I got a really good feeling about Ramondre today, man. But I will say, in my non-biased, analytical mind, I will say Devontae Smith, man. But it's not by much, bro.
It's not by much, he says. Back to the Vikings game. What do you have to say about this game overall?
I think that this is definitely a game that it's a primetime game. This is probably the Super Bowl for the Bears here at this point. Depending on obviously what happens with the Lions game, this could be a situation where they could continue to freeze them out of any type of potential home field advantage or winning the division. So I think the Bears will be up for this game for sure. The stats said that, the last time these two teams played in week 2, the Bears had a pretty good game. I think it's going to have to be basically more around the passing game than it is the running game, because I think we all know the Bears' running game has flopped like concrete cupcakes. So ouch. With that being said, I'm full of it today. And obviously my boy KOC, he can fix any quarterback. Yeah, he can fix any quarterback. And Aaron Jones has been also a nemesis to the Bears as well. So, I just think the Vikings all day long and twice on Monday night.
I don't know. There it goes.
There it is. There it is.
I'm just not division game 6.5. I guess if it were 7.5, I'd probably take Chicago, but I think in a game with Minnesota, they can't afford to can't afford to not take the foot off the gas pedal. I do think they hang around for a while, but I do think the Vikings should cover in this matchup. Last but not least, Falcons and Raiders. Falcons getting 5.5 on the road, going to Las Vegas. Revenge spot. Desmond Ritter starting for the Raiders.
That thought crossed my mind last night about 10:09 last night as I started the Falcons in my defense. I'm like, yeah, of course. Why not? Why not? That would just be the icing on the cake for the year for me. Why not?
Yep. I'm expecting, I don't know. Similar spot for Cincinnati basically in the last week against the Dallas Cowboys. I just don't know about this Falcons team. They did play a bit better last week, especially on the defensive side of things. But yeah, look, I'm just gonna take the Falcons. And again, last week they had opportunity. So they fumbled the bag last week in a spot they needed the most. But now facing Desmond Ritter, a quarterback that they know of, in some ways, just give me the Falcons overall. In hopes that I'm not sure if they'll cover though, but I'll just say they'll cover. At the point the line went up like 1.5 more when Ritter was announced the starting quarterback. So,
yeah, I don't for as bad as this is the absolute worst case scenario in my mind for the Falcons.
Yeah,
we see Michael Penix on Monday Night Football at some point in time. That's the worst case scenario. I don't think, dude. I don't want to say there's no way, but dude, there's no way they can go out and lose to the to the Raiders, a 2-11 team on Monday Night Football, potentially with the AFC South on the line. Like, I just
can't.
can't.
Never, they say.
I'm not going to say never. I just said there's no way. I didn't say never. I said no way. And I know it's pretty much the same thing, but I'm not going to say never. There's no way. There's no way, bro. There's no way.
I know, man.
And this is probably going to be replayed over in a loop probably on Thursday, me saying no way. Like, the Raiders are awful. They are awful.
And now no Max Crosby in this game either.
Terrible, bro.
No Max Crosby in this game either.
Like, yo, like,
I know.
Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, your guy Ray McLeod, Tyler Algier, Bijan Robinson.
Hey.
Like, come on, man. Like,
Bijan, bring it home for me, kid.
That's it. Just bring it home, bro.
200 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Like, that's it. Like, there's nothing else left to say.
Gotcha. Makes sense. All right, time to go to our segment where we talk about DFS plays, and we're talking about locks of the slate. Johnny, you want to kick us off for how you think about the lock of the slate? Who you got? Who you really like this week? Who you're really locking in your lineups this week for DFS?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of players that, like I've mentioned, I'll kind of give you. I'm looking at this from a GPP format, so like I'll give you like 4 or 5 quarterbacks that like I'm in
5 quarterbacks. That's a lock of the slate.
Okay, I'll give you the quarterback that I'm playing. I've already mentioned. I'll give you my lock of the slate, Bryce Young. Like, I'll give you him at quarterback. Wow. If I can't GPP it, then I'll give you that's who I'm playing in my $100 spy entry. Is I'm playing Bryce Young at quarterback. I'm playing him
business today.
That's right. You damn right. You damn right. I'm playing him today. Yeah, and I told you the reason why. It just creates a natural leverage for me against the field. Obviously, it's either going to work or it ain't. So I like him at low key. I like Tua as well, as I have Tyreek and Waddle as my 2 wide receivers based off of what I was telling you guys as far as like the Texans and their pass coverage, etc. And then again, Rico Dowdle, and give me the Detroit run game. Like 1,000,000%. I think it goes without saying, guys, like Derrick Henry should smash today. It goes without saying. But if you're looking for another low-key smash spot, Brian Robinson from the Commanders, I think this is a really good opportunity for him as well today to blow up the slate.
I like that spot too. I would say the leverage spot. The leverage spot is Kyler Murray. Like, the leverage spot is Kyler Murray. I know. We're back at this. Man. Leverage spot is Kyler Murray. So I'm locking him in. It's just because the dual threat quarterback that he is, the matchup that he gets today, and no one's gonna play him today. So he's not. I'd rather it's him. And Jaden Daniels, because that's the leverage spot to 7,500. Like, I know he has 30-point upside. Yeah. But Kyler Murray again there. I just know that no one's gonna play him, and I like that. I like those spots. Same thing with Anthony Richardson against Denver. Both of those guys there. I know those plays can go easily left very fast. But those are the plays for a GPP you got to play. Yeah. And if that's the only spot, then all right, fine. I think someone else that's higher on my list today, like it's pretty high owned. I'm on Ross St. Brown just for the matchup, like purposes, like in a game where we expect the things to go off. I don't think Malik Neighbor is going to be played a lot today. And I do think that at 6,400, probably one of the cheapest price points of the year. He hasn't been 6,400 since week 3 against Cleveland. And it just makes sense. Like we need 3.5 for tournaments. I like to use that algorithm for 3.5. So we need 22.4 points for Neighbors, and he could get there by just pure volume. Back-to-back games of at least 10 targets or more. So it's definitely in a realm of possibility for him to get there. In a spot where some people might play other players and stuff like that. It's just a leverage play off. And dare I say Calvin Ridley today.
I hope he comes through. Season long, I got him, but I'm not.
Yeah,
But I'm not. Like I should say, I'm not touching it. I'm going under the field in GPP. It's coming in about a 30% on FanDuel, which is what I'm playing GPP on. So I said I'll take him at 20%. Let's do it.
That's fair. So yeah, that's what I got for last slate today. Let's see. Well, time to go to our other segment where we go over the props. We didn't have a great week. There were a ton of bad beats.
Yep.
Just a ton of bad beats. 6-11 last week. It's a ton of bad beats. 55% still in the year. I don't like it. I still don't like it. It's terrible. Gotta do better, and we'll bounce back this week. Feeling pretty confident every single play here. And if again, what happens to betting sometimes is you get, bad beats, you get things happen and stuff like that. But I feel pretty confident in all these plays. We'll start with the top 3 props for the week. Top 3 plays that I will play where, that I feel very, very confident that they will be hitting. Tony Pollard over 64.5 rush yards. And that was just due to that was the play I brought out earlier today on X. So if you guys are following me, that's where we talk about, Tony Pollard there. But to break it down, Tony Pollard is getting a Bengals run defense that has just been awful. Just terrible as of late as well. They allowed Rico Dowell to, have a nice day, the week before. And now they rank 30th in the NFL when it comes to opponent rush EPA and 31st in opponent rush success rate. So 64.5 for a guy that I think he was teeter-tottering all week to playing. I think Tony Pollard is going to get the lion's share of the workload for all the things considered. The Titans were saying this, that, and the third about him, whatever, several weeks ago, but Tony Pollard has still been the guy to get there. We're hoping that at least get 16 carries because when he's had 16 carries or more in a game, he's only missed this line for rushing one time. So we're hoping for a ton of carries for Tony Pollard still in this matchup. And then going to the 1 p.m. props, we have Tua Tagovailoa over 1.5 pass touchdowns. The Texans, like we talked about earlier in the segment, Texans are giving up the 26 passing touchdowns. That's the most in the NFL currently. And since week 10, Tua has ranked only second to Burrow for most passing touchdowns. Tua has 12 since week 10. Rico Dowell, over 97.5 rush and receiving. Could have went with rush here. The Panthers has given up 4 of the last 5 running backs have rushed for over 100 yards. But I'm going with the rush and receiving because I'm giving myself some wiggle room just in case this game ends up being more of a game that we think it's going to be. Panthers are last in rush yards allowed to running backs. Mixon, over 70.5 rush yards. Mixon, he overall coming off the bye week, and the Dolphins they rank 24th in run defense DVOA. So defense versus the average. And last 2 weeks, Miami has allowed 22.5 carries to running backs and 87 rush yards on average. So Mixon come out the bye week. Texans going to want to run the ball. Bobby Slowick loves to run the football still. So I think this is a matchup where Mixon should get over pretty handedly. Talk about Pollard already in the top 3. Got to talk about Aaron Rodgers over 229 pass yards. If Johnny's got to go, you got to go, my man.
I got to go.
Take care of business, my guy. I'll close the shop up. Right. See you, boss. We got Aaron Rodgers over 229 pass yards. So in terms of the Jaguars, they overall we know that they rank dead last. Their secondary ranks dead last in the NFL when it comes to opponent drop back per EPA and opponent yards per pass attempt, giving up 7.8 yards per throw. And Aaron Rodgers, just coming off a performance where he threw over 300 pass yards, there should be a spot where he's playing for his career, I would say still. He's still playing for a spot. And that's where I think that Aaron Rodgers could easily get over the passing yards here. We go to the 4 o'clock slate, so the 4 p.m. props. We have Amon-Ra St. Brown over 68.5 receiving yards. Amon-Ra has been not the Amon-Ra we pretty much drafted for season long, but he's someone that overall that we all know he could break the bank at any day. He averages 75 receiving yards per game on the season when Detroit scores 20 points or more. And the Bills right now, very injury ridden in the back end. And they allow a 26% target rate against zone coverages. So that's where Mon-Ra can easily get out there and eat 60.5 receiving yards. Just feels a little too low. Kyler Murray, over 224 pass yards. We can also take the 25 rush yards. It's 25.5. I was back and forth on it. It's not an official play, but I still will take Kyler Murray over 224 pass yards. I just love the matchup here when it comes to the Patriots. Talked about that earlier. Patriots deploy man defense at the second highest rate in the NFL. In general, man coverages leads to QB scrambles in general when things break down because the defense is going to have their back against the quarterback in most man coverage situations. Patriots are 31st in dropback EPA and they're 29th in dropback success rate. So Kyler Murray should have a day throwing in between windows and man coverages. Christian Gonzalez obviously going to be, the man to watch for in the defense. But overall, I'm not too scared about the defense for the Patriots. They're overall 29th in pressure rate percentage, so they don't generate a ton of pressure either. So definitely like Kyler Murray for the over 224 pass yards. They need to win this game in order to stay in the playoff race in general. Got a couple of Bills receivers. So we have Amari Cooper over 47.5 receiving yards, and we have Khalil Shakir over 57.5 receiving yards. We have the Lions corners, we talked about them earlier, giving up an 88 or better passer rating when they get targeted their way. They're averaging 186 yards per game to receivers. And the game script just suggests that the Bills are going to be throwing from behind. The Bills slot, Khalil Shakir technically has a better matchup here for slot receivers because the Lions just get torched in that area. But I feel like Amari Cooper at 47.5 receiving yards is still a little too low. We saw what happened last week when the Bills were behind. We didn't see that game script too often, but when we saw that last week, we knew Cooper was getting the ball, Shakir was getting the ball. I know Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid are back, but these lines are still a little too low. For overall this game where, even though the 54.5, me and John like the under, I still think these lines are too low for a game that if the Lions get out to a lead, it's because they got the running game going. And then we could just see the Bills continually chucking with Josh Allen second half. So that's it for the Nick Prop Shop. Looking to get better overall. I want to get to at least 60% for the end of the year. And when I say end of the year, meaning the end of the NFL season, because we'll look to still be doing this until the final game, which is the Super Bowl. But that being said, final thoughts overall. So, not speaking for John, because he had to go, but I would say final thoughts for me is that we appreciate you guys. Every single show that we come out here Tuesday and Sundays. If we have any feedback, any questions, we like to always ask. We always like to answer for you. We're here for y'all. I want to say good luck to you guys in your fantasy football playoff matchups. We hope we've been very valuable for you guys. We hope that we provided a ton of, information and value for you guys. And, I couldn't speak to, again, like the support we get on a weekly basis from everybody and people will come in and chime in. We definitely appreciate y'all for sure. And we'll look to keep this train going. And that being said, again, my final thoughts to you guys is to go out and win your quarterfinals. If you're playing this week, if you're on a bye, get prepared. Look at the waiver wire again one more time before the slate starts in 20 minutes. Just double check that because if you're missing a player you might want to pick up or whatever, you have the advantage currently, so use it. Next show we got is Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. We got the Week 16 waiver wire advice show. We'll be going over plays from the waiver wire, potential guys we could pick up, potentially start. And then, for your semifinal matchups, me and John will probably come in here and, talk about, who's who in terms of what happened this, for this upcoming, this slate of games and get you guys prepared to, get yourselves in a winning position for your teams. So that being said, you guys can catch me on X at Nick_Wilcox25. I'll see you guys in the next show. I'm out. Peace.